Let me tell you something that changed my life. Your wealth is not in your hands, it's in your head. Most people want to be rich, but the truth is, only those who train their mind to think like the wealthy ever become wealthy. Your mind is your biggest asset or your biggest liability. The way you think decides the way you live. In the journey toward wealth, one of the most fundamental transformations a person can make is shifting their mindset from scarcity to abundance. This shift isn't about fake positivity or ignoring reality. It's about retraining how the mind interprets situations, opportunities, and limitations. Scarcity thinking is deeply ingrained in many of us. It's the voice that says, "There's not enough, I'll never have what they have," or "Success is only for a few people, not for someone like me." It creates a mental environment of competition, fear, and limitation. This kind of thinking forces people to cling to what they have, settle for less, and resist taking calculated risks. It's the invisible wall that blocks people from trying something bigger. Abundance thinking, on the other hand, begins with a simple belief. There is enough opportunity, enough success, enough money, enough creativity. It does not mean everyone will achieve the same level of wealth or success, but it means everyone has the potential to grow, create, and contribute more than they are right now. Abundance thinking allows the mind to breathe. It opens up possibility. It says, if someone else can do it, so can I, not with jealousy, but with motivation. It's the mindset that moves a person from survival to creation. People trapped in scarcity often fear that others' success means their failure. When someone else wins, they feel like they've lost something. This is why jealousy, resentment, and gossip are often rooted in scarcity. It's a mental economy of lack. But abundance thinkers understand that one person's success can actually be a signpost, not a threat. It's proof that something is possible. They observe success with curiosity, not bitterness. They ask, what can I learn from this? Rather than, why not me? Scarcity also keeps people locked in comfort zones. It tells them, don't risk it. You might lose everything. But abundance asks a better question. What's possible if I try? Abundance thinkers take action not because they're guaranteed to win, but because they believe there's something worth reaching for. They understand that failure is not fatal, it's educational. They don't hoard information, ideas, or resources, because they know that sharing knowledge or helping others grow doesn't subtract from their own success, it multiplies it. Shifting from scarcity to abundance begins with awareness. People have to start noticing how they talk to themselves. Do they focus on what they lack or what they can build? Do they constantly compare their progress to others? Or do they reflect on how far they've come and where they're going? This awareness creates a foundation for change. Then comes language. The words people use shape their mental world. Saying, I can't afford it, reinforces helplessness, while saying, how can I afford it? Sparks creativity. The first shuts the mind down. The second opens it up. Changing language patterns rewires the brain to look for solutions instead of problems, to seek possibilities instead of barriers. Next, environment matters. If a person is surrounded by people who complain, shrink, and criticize, their thinking will mirror that. But when they spend time with people who talk about growth, strategies, investments, vision, and impact, their mindset naturally starts shifting. Conversations about possibilities become normal. Exposure creates expansion. What once felt out of reach starts to feel familiar and attainable. Belief systems also play a major role. People raised in environments where money was always tight or seen as evil often develop unconscious beliefs that wealth is wrong, dangerous, or unachievable. These beliefs silently sabotage goals. Shifting to abundance means challenging those beliefs, replacing them with healthier ones. Wealth is not just a number. It's a mindset that must be nurtured with purpose and intentionality. It involves learning about money, practicing gratitude, giving generously, and setting bigger goals than one feels ready for. True wealth doesn't start with a big salary or a lucky break. It starts with a clear vision and strict discipline. Without these two components, even the highest income can slip through the cracks. Financial vision is the ability to see beyond the now. It's about understanding where you want to be financially in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and having the mental clarity to map the steps required to get there. Discipline is what makes that vision a reality. Together, they form the foundation of lasting wealth. Many people operate on short-term thinking. They focus only on today's bills, today's paycheck, today's desires. While it's important to meet immediate needs, a vision forces the mind to think long-term. It asks questions like, what kind of life do I want to live in the future? What kind of freedom do I want for my family? How much passive income do I need to stop trading time for money? These questions shift a person's focus from consumer habits to investment habits, from spending emotionally to planning strategically. Vision acts like a compass. It provides direction, clarity, and purpose to financial decisions. Without vision, money is easily wasted. People buy what feels good now instead of what will serve them later. But when a person has a strong financial vision, even small decisions, like whether to eat out or cook at home, are influenced by that larger picture. They begin to ask, does this purchase support or sabotage my future? That question alone can save thousands. Discipline, on the other hand, is the tool that holds everything together. It's the daily habit of saying no to distractions and yes to your plan. Discipline isn't about deprivation. It's about alignment. It's choosing consistency over convenience. It's resisting the impulse to spend because you're bored, stressed, or trying to impress others. It's being loyal to your long-term goals even when the short-term temptations seem more appealing. And this kind of discipline doesn't happen overnight. It's developed through routine, structure, and, most importantly, tracking. Tracking your income, expenses, and progress builds awareness. It shows where your money is going, how much you're actually saving, and where leaks are happening. Many people avoid looking at their finances because it makes them uncomfortable. But awareness is the first step to control. You can't improve what you won't measure. Just like a business needs financial statements to grow, an individual needs a clear picture of their personal cash flow to build real wealth. Vision also requires learning. Financial literacy is non-negotiable. Without understanding debt, assets, investments, interest, and budgeting, a person is vulnerable to bad decisions and manipulative systems. Reading books, watching content, speaking with financial mentors, or taking courses becomes part of the growth process. No one is born knowing how to build wealth. It's a learned skill, and that learning only sticks when it's backed by discipline. Reading about investing doesn't build wealth. Investing consistently over time does. Knowing about saving doesn't matter. Automating savings every month does. Another part of developing discipline is building systems, not relying on motivation. Motivation fades, systems last. Automating, savings, setting up scheduled bill payments, investing a fixed percentage of income. All these systems reduce emotional interference. They make good decisions automatic. When something is a system, it doesn't rely on willpower. It just happens. Vision also helps set boundaries. It's easier to say no to toxic financial influences when you're clear about where you're going. Peer pressure, lifestyle inflation, and emotional spending become easier to resist because you're not chasing someone else's image. You're chasing your own mission. You become more intentional with time, energy, and resources. Every decision is weighed against a larger outcome, and every action becomes more meaningful. One of the most overlooked keys to attracting wealth and success is the quality of people you allow into your inner circle. The mindset, values, and energy of the people around you shape your thoughts more than you may realize. When you surround yourself with growth-oriented individuals, you naturally elevate your standards, challenge your limitations, and expand your vision. These people act as mirrors, mentors, and motivators. They don't let you shrink. They encourage you to stretch. Growth-oriented people think differently. They talk about ideas, not people. They focus on progress, not problems. They ask better questions, seek better solutions, and are constantly working on becoming a better version of themselves. Being around such people rewires your own brain to think in terms of possibilities rather than limitations. Conversations shift from gossip and excuses to strategies, goals, and execution. In contrast, when you're surrounded by people who operate from a fixed mindset, who resist change, who fear risk, or who constantly complain about circumstances but never take responsibility. Your own growth slows down. You begin to absorb their limitations without realizing it. You begin to dim your own light to match the room you're in. That's why it's not just about avoiding toxic people. It's about intentionally aligning with people who push you forward. Being in an environment of growth means you're more likely to take action. When you see your peers launching businesses, investing, reading, working on themselves, and evolving, it no longer feels intimidating. It becomes normal. You start to believe, if they can do it, I can too. This is the power of proximity. Success becomes contagious. Mindset becomes contagious. Ambition becomes contagious. The right environment doesn't just inspire you. It activates you. Growth-oriented individuals hold you accountable, not out of judgment, but because they see your potential. They're the ones who ask, what's the next step? Why haven't you started? What's holding you back? They remind you of the standard you said you wanted to live by, especially when you begin to drift. Accountability in a supportive environment is one of the greatest accelerators of personal and financial growth. They also offer knowledge. The conversations you have with people who are constantly learning and evolving will be filled with insights, strategies, and new perspectives. They'll recommend books, share lessons from failures, and introduce you to networks and opportunities you wouldn't have found on your own. Growth-oriented people don't hoard information. They share it because they know that success multiplies when it's distributed. And just as important as their knowledge is their energy. Some people drain you, others energize you. Some make you doubt yourself. Others remind you of what's possible. When you're surrounded by people who believe in growth, discipline, abundance, and resilience, your mind is conditioned to operate at a higher frequency. You begin to speak the language of progress. Words like build, learn, invest, improve, and impact become part of your daily vocabulary. Being intentional about who you spend time with is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. You don't have to cut people off with bitterness, but you do have to protect your mental environment. That might mean spending less time with those who pull you backward and more time seeking those who move you forward. It means finding mentors, joining masterminds, networking with like-minded individuals, or even consuming content from people who inspire you. Books, podcasts, videos, communities. Growth-oriented relationships also teach emotional resilience. When you're pursuing big goals, you will face setbacks. Being around people who have overcome their own battles helps you reframe failure and keep moving. They don't let you quit when things get hard. They remind you that discomfort is part of the process. They don't give you sympathy. They give you strength. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a vital part of it. Every successful person has faced rejection, setbacks, and losses. What sets them apart is not that they avoided failure, but that they used it. They turned each failure into what can be called mental capital, a type of wisdom and internal resource that cannot be bought or taught, only earned through experience. This capital becomes the foundation upon which future decisions, strategies, and growth are built. Most people fear failure because they associate it with shame, loss, or inadequacy. They internalize it. When something doesn't go according to plan, they don't just see it as a mistake. They see themselves as the mistake. This mindset creates avoidance. People begin to play small, delay action, and avoid risk, not because they lack talent, but because they fear the pain of trying and failing. But those who understand the power of mental capital treat every failure like a hidden investment. They don't just recover from it, they extract value from it. Turning failure into mental capital begins with reflection. The moment something doesn't work out, ask powerful questions. What can I learn from this? What did I ignore? What assumptions proved wrong? Where was I unprepared? What can I do better next time? This process shifts the brain from emotion to analysis. It turns pain into perspective. It allows a person to step outside the event and study it with clarity. That study becomes knowledge, and that knowledge becomes strategy. Mental capital grows with each experience. It's the accumulation of real-world understanding. What works, what doesn't, how people behave, what markets demand, and how your own tendencies either serve or sabotage you. books, and mentors are valuable, but personal failure offers insights at a depth no classroom can reach. It teaches patience. It sharpens intuition. It builds emotional strength. Every time you fail and rise again, your mindset evolves, your approach sharpens, and your resilience deepens. There is also confidence hidden inside failure, not in the moment of loss, but in what comes after. When a person has survived disappointment and kept moving, they begin to trust themselves. They learn that failure is not fatal. They stop waiting for perfect conditions and start taking calculated risks. That confidence is mental capital in its most powerful form, an unshakable inner knowing that no matter what happens, you'll figure it out. It's the mindset of builders, entrepreneurs, and game changers. Some of the world's most successful ventures were born out of failed attempts. The lessons learned in those failures became the exact principles that led to the next breakthrough. When you treat failure like data instead of defeat, you collect patterns. You begin to notice what choices led to burnout, what habits led to chaos, what assumptions led to missed opportunities. You start adjusting your decisions, your behavior, your mindset, and those adjustments compound over time. Mental capital also builds humility. Failure removes ego. It reminds you that success is earned, not entitled. That humility allows you to become more coachable, more curious, and more open to learning from others. It removes the fear of starting over because you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. Each setback adds another layer of depth to your thinking. You become less reactive, more strategic, less afraid, more prepared. But turning failure into capital isn't automatic. Many people fail and repeat the same mistakes because they never stop to reflect, learn, and adapt. They bury failure or blame others, which keeps them stuck. To turn it into capital, it must be faced honestly and processed intentionally. It must be documented, mentally or even physically. Journaling lessons, tracking outcomes, analyzing choices over time. This creates a personal blueprint that becomes sharper, more efficient, and more valuable with each iteration. Success doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design, and the blueprint starts in the mind. Visualization, planning, execution, and repetition form a mental and practical cycle that builds wealth, growth, and mastery. This process isn't something you do once. It's something you commit to daily. It transforms dreams into plans and plans into results. Visualization is the starting point. It's where clarity is born. The mind must first see what it wants before the hands can build it. Visualization isn't about fantasy. It's about programming the subconscious to recognize opportunities and solutions. When you take time to close your eyes and see your future in detail, where you live, how you work, the kind of freedom you want, the value you're creating, you begin to create mental familiarity with success. The brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So the more vividly you visualize your goals, the more your mind starts working toward them in the background. Your actions begin to align with your vision because you've seen it so clearly that it becomes real to you. But visualization without planning is incomplete. Once the mind is clear about the target, it needs a path. Planning gives structure to the vision. It breaks down big dreams into manageable steps, timelines, and milestones. It removes the fog of uncertainty. Many people feel overwhelmed not because their goal is impossible, but because they haven't mapped the journey. Planning brings control. It helps prioritize what matters and eliminate distractions. It teaches how to allocate time, energy, and resources effectively. A good plan doesn't just say what to do. It says when and how. It includes potential obstacles and prepares solutions in advance. Execution is where the gap between idea and reality is bridged. This is where most people stop. They visualize, they plan, and then they wait for the perfect moment. More motivation, fewer distractions. But the truth is, nothing changes until action begins. Execution is the discipline of doing what you said you would do, even when the excitement has faded. It's taking the next right step every single day. It's choosing consistency over intensity. Execution requires grit, focus, and adaptability. Things will not always go as planned, but taking action reveals what works and what doesn't. Action is the ultimate form of learning. It creates momentum, and momentum builds confidence. Then comes the final piece, repeat. Most people quit after the first try. When they don't get instant results, they assume they failed. But success is not a one-time event. It's a repeated process. It's visualizing again after a setback, planning again after a failure, executing again even when results are slow. Repetition builds mastery. What was once difficult becomes effortless. What felt overwhelming becomes routine. This cycle, visualize, plan, execute, repeat, compounds over time. It sharpens your skills, strengthens your belief, and accelerates your progress. Repetition also reveals patterns. You begin to notice what time of day you're most productive, what systems help you stay organized, what distractions you need to eliminate. It refines your awareness. The more you go through this cycle, the more efficient and strategic you become. You stop wasting energy on random actions and start making moves that are aligned with your long-term vision. Even when external results are delayed, internal growth is happening. Discipline is being built. Resilience is being formed. And every time the process is repeated, you become more capable, more prepared, and more powerful. Wealth and success are not just outcomes. They're the result of who you become through repetition of intentional effort. The mind adapts to what it practices. When you repeatedly visualize success, plan for success, act on that plan, and go through the cycle again and again, you create an internal system that is aligned with progress. This system becomes part of your identity. You no longer rely on bursts of inspiration. You operate from structure, clarity, and purpose. In conclusion, the pursuit of unlimited wealth. The greatest transformation doesn't start in your wallet. It starts in your mind. Real wealth is not a result of luck or circumstance, but of intentional mental conditioning. When you shift from a scarcity mindset to one of abundance, you open your eyes to the endless opportunities around you. By developing financial discipline and a clear long-term vision, you take control of your financial destiny with purpose and precision. Surrounding yourself with growth-oriented people fuels your ambition, challenges your limitations, and elevates your standard of thinking. Failure, instead of being an obstacle, becomes a source of mental capital, a resource that sharpens your decisions and builds emotional resilience. And with a cycle of visualizing your goals, planning strategically, executing with discipline, and repeating the process with consistency, success becomes a habit, not a hope. Your mind is the foundation of your future. What you feed it, how you train it, and the environment you place it in will either limit you or launch you. The truth is, wealth is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who is mentally prepared to handle, multiply, and sustain